Hello, and welcome to the Friday show, where I will have comedians Christian Finnegan and Ophira Eisenberg joining me coming up in just a moment, because on the Friday show, I don't have much of an opening. Keep it brief, because Thursday nights I host the Thursday Night Stand-Up Happy Hour Hangout, and I'm taping this before it to get it up, but I'm sure it was an amazing time. Looks like next week I've invited Emily Atkin of Heated.World. She's probably one of the most important, respected climate journalists in the country. She's going to be joining me on the show early next week, and then hopefully she'll hang out with us. I've invited her to hang out next Thursday night, so that would be cool. And before I get started today, ignoring everything that happened in the news yesterday, which I like to do at least once a week, I just want to thank all of the new paid subscribers here. Whole bunch of new people subscribing. I'm not sure exactly why or what's happened, or if I've gotten more exposure somehow. I don't know, but I am super grateful to have a bunch of new subscribers signing up in this month alone. It's Janet Engel and Wade Erickson and Paul Kalina, Daryl Allen, Charlie Aney. Want to thank Tristan for editing his pledge up. That's awesome. Really appreciate that, man. Laura Fiorelli Cruz, Sean Stappen, Joel Stoop, Kevin Chick, Valencia Banks, and Doug all signing up, and I can't do it without your paid subscriptions, and gotta keep them going. I really love doing this show every day, and now I've hired Odessa as my paid intern, and maybe that'll turn into a real job for her or somebody else, because it's really cool to have somebody to work with and collaborate with. I've really enjoyed second week with her. She's also been having fun at the Hangouts, and it's great because your subscription is also partly going to her. So, thank you very much for all the new paid subscribers. If you'd like to sign up, standupwithpete.com right now, patreon.com/Pete Dominic, and become a supporter and part of our community if you'd like. Otherwise, you could just be a supporter and enjoy the show, and I thank you very much. All right, well, that's it. Let's get to my conversation with Christian and Ophira. It's pretty light today. We had a very light, nonsensical conversation, a lot of laughs and stories. It was really fun. I just love talking to them. It's always great to get three comedians together, because you tend to bust chops and just mix it up, and somebody's always got something. And the chemistry, the relationship between the three of us has really grown, and I just love talking to them, and I hope that we can just continue to do this as well with both of them. Follow Christian and Ophira on social media if you haven't. You're missing out. Also, you can subscribe to Christian's awesome newsletter, newmusicforolds.substack.com. That's a great way to support him. And, of course, Ophira Eisenberg has her new podcast, Parenting is a Joke, and she's doing her one-person show in New York in February. If you're going to be in New York in February, you want to go. I'm definitely going to go to at least one of the performances, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing that. Go to OphiraEisenberg.com. Buy both their albums, support them any way that you can, and let's do it right now. Christian, Ophira and Christian are here, and thank you very much both for joining me. Christian, I saw, because I'm a paid subscriber, you still, your COVID came back. Are you okay? How are we doing?
It's fine. I mean, whatever. I don't know. It's not been super fun. But it's not been like debilitating. It's just been annoying. It's been, I had a few days. Apparently this is the thing that happens with Paxlovid, apparently, that it knocks it out pretty quickly. But once you stop using it, it's not unheard of for it to come back. And so now I am again testing negative. But today I went to exercise, and I felt very dizzy and not so super. But I'm testing negative, so I don't think it's an infectious thing at this point. It's just kind of a lingering whatever. But yeah, not super fun.
You said something in this latest issue of newmusicforolds.substack.com, but I thought was interesting that we could just mention, because you basically asked the question. You say, assuming this is the end of things, COVID coming back, you talked about it, it ranks somewhere between a minor inconvenience and a medium bummer. And to be honest, I've always been slightly entranced by the psychedelic effects of a fever. Life takes on a slightly blurry, dreamlike quality. It's like viewing the world while wearing someone else's glasses. It's not a place you want to be long-term, but for a few hours, once a year or so, it has its appeal. Or am I just a weirdo? You'd tell me if I was a weirdo, wouldn't you? Ophira, what do you want to say to him?
I've only had one fever that caused hallucinations in my life, and I was young. I remember it, but I feel like I was somewhere in the, I don't know, 9, 10 range, and I do remember it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, even when it's not like full on hallucinations, but just that sort of like I've been knocked in the head quality,
dreamy quality.
Yeah, that's sort of like like waking up in the middle of the night thing. Like I don't use hard drugs, and so I need to find my jollies where I can get them. Gas at the dentist office, the occasional fever, that kind of thing. Lack of sleep, I look for natural.
Oh, I hate lack of sleep. I am a fever nightmare with lack of sleep.
What happens? I mean, lack of sleep in general.
I've always had sleep problems, so it's like that feeling you get. First of all, like I used to pull all-nighters all the time, and now when I pull an all-nighter, like that next like lunchtime the next day, like it's like I've done peyote or something.
But why are you pulling all-nighters now?
Well, I would love to say it's because of deadlines, because of all the work that people are paying me to do, but not so much. Although there have been times where just like writing the dumb newsletter where it's like I didn't budget my time properly, and so I have to just be up until 5 a.m. because I didn't do it. But yeah, I mean, or just various reasons. There are times when I have to pull all-nighters, and there are times where I just can't sleep.
Right. Okay.
Can I tell you, I have the least interesting take. I think I have never done a one-nighter. I'm pretty sure I can't. One time when we were traveling in Europe, we couldn't find I mean, I never like drank a lot when I was younger and stuff too. Maybe that's part of it. But one time when I was young, the trip I met my wife on, we were in Europe, me and my buddy. We couldn't find a hostel, and my battery died. I was like, this is it. We're going to sit down now. I cannot go on for another, and maybe that was like 23 hours. It wasn't even, I just shut down like a robot.
That's so great that you have that shutdown mechanism. Like it saves you a lot of, I think that's probably good for your mental and physical health.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. When my wife and I went to Amsterdam this past spring.
That's where we were when I pulled my all-nighter.
Oh, weird.
Classic place. The place of all-nighters, truly.
Ethan Hawke, Julie Delpy.
Sex show.
What'd you say?
And a live sex show.
And did you go to a live sex show?
Did.
You did, huh?
Yeah.
Was it like an open mic? Did you jump up and do some time, or
anyone in the crowd? We have one spot.
Put my name in the bucket.
One spot each day.
Pete Dominic always gets slotted.
They ring a bell at 5 minutes.
Pretty awkward.
Dude, a live sex show open mic is an idea that needs to happen.
Yeah. Well, I interrupted you with the live sex show. You were going to say you were in Amsterdam and had that all night.
I was just saying, like, I had a gig the night before we were going to fly to Amsterdam where I only got like 2 hours of sleep because I had like a 6:50 a.m. flight. And then I flew home, and then we were taking the red eye to Amsterdam that night. And so like an idiot, I thought, well, I'm going to stay up so that I can sleep on the plane. And that will then get me good to go once we get into Amsterdam. Well, I didn't sleep a lick on the plane. And so by the time I got to Amsterdam, it had been like, I had maybe gotten like 3 hours of sleep over the last 36 hours. And my wife, in her infinite wisdom, scheduled a bike tour around Amsterdam when we arrived in the morning, because she thought, well, oh, surely the hotel will let us check in and we'll be able to wash up. And nope, they wouldn't do that. And so we were biking around Amsterdam, and I kept it mostly to myself, because I thought like this could be super dangerous. Like there were times when we stopped to like have some, see some stupid statue and somebody would explain something, and I would literally be nodding off, standing on the bike. Yeah. I
can't believe you're just able to bike at all. I mean, I may have just like laid down on a patch of grass and that would have been it.
Yeah, you have no idea the extents I will go to not make my wife angry at me, or not even make that's overstating it. My wife's not like it is to not disappoint her, especially when it's like a trip. It's a vacation.
A whole thing. I know.
I would rather suffer through it personally, privately, than to bum her out and have because then we're both in a bad mood.
But, I was thinking the other day, how often, maybe this is just my crazy schedule, and I do have a small kid, which is just like, that's an added thing. But how often do you look at a day, like wake up and you look at the day as ahead of you, and your approach to it really is, it is going to be amazing if I get through this. And your like big reward at the end of it to yourself is like, I got through it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Cambry has a lot more days like that than I do. Like when I got COVID at QED, the bartender, when I got COVID, the bartender QED also had COVID. And so she had to work like 4 16-hour days in a row and then come home and like wear a mask in the apartment with me for the brief time, so I wish that I could say that I look forward to having one of those days sometime soon where I have to get through it. Right now, I think
when you have if you mentioned having a small kid, I mean, he's 6 now, 7 now, but like, so it's not like you could get a nap and not worry about him choking on a cap.
Totally.
But when I do remember
screen time,
well, yeah, regarding my sleep issue, which is not really an issue because I kind of can sleep anywhere. If you give me 9 minutes, it's the cab to the airport after a gig in the morning. I stayed up. I'm out for those 9 minutes. 8 of them, I'm gone. Mm-hmm. But like when Ava was first born, we live in New York, and she was like 2, and Val would be in the other room with a client, training, exercising, and I wouldn't be able to stay awake. So I used to just put 2 fingers in the back of her diaper, and if she moved away from me, I would like wake up. But that was it. Live or die, girl. And now she's going to graduate high school. She got into a lot of colleges. So.
Wow. That's
congratulations.
A totally amazing tale. That's such a New York story. Truly. That is such a New York story.
Yep. Client and the other room in the main room. Yeah,
you've got 2 rooms. No help.
Oh yeah, and she'd be crying. She'd be crying, and I'm like, "Please, mommy's got a client. Please, no one will come here."
Oh God, that's the worst. Yep. That's the worst.
That's why we had to get. That's one of the many reasons why we just couldn't do. Yeah. Well, we had another kid on the way. That was for sure not an option. That's when we moved. So
how did you settle on where you settled? Is that where Val is from, or
no? Val's from Detroit. We didn't know anybody here. We looked, at the suburbs of New York and looked for schools.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year,
above ground pools,
the above ground pool, my friend, was a corporate gig. I'll have you know.
Uh-huh. I do often think of my life in those terms. Like I'll have a corporate gig and I'll be like, all right, I am going to take this chunk of money to spend on something. And then I can say, I don't have to feel like it was a waste of money because, like, no, this gig paid for this thing, and I'm not going to then feel bad about it.
I could look around the front walk. Thank you, Verizon. The kitchen. Thank you again, Verizon. The second year they booked me for the consumer electronic. There was the kitchen. Thank you. I mean, Ophira, do you not look at money that way or gigs that way?
I have such a truly. I could probably go to some like anonymous program for this. So, but here it is, not anonymously. I have like a scarcity issue with money. So if anyone gives me money, I'm like, this is all I will ever have. And so I better like save it and just be careful. But yet, so I'm very careful, yet I will luxuriate myself with like Ubers and a nice glass of wine. Right. So I whittle away at it inefficiently instead of going like, look at the amazing thing. It is mine. But the thing I want, the only thing I want, like I don't care. I like nice clothes, but who cares? Never wanted a nice purse, like any of these things, luxury items for women that they spend thousands of dollars. But what do I want? Another room.
Oh yeah. Wouldn't it be great if you could just buy another room for your existing apartment? Like if you had the money, just like they would just like an igloo where they just add on another room.
Yes. And I would look at that room and say,
or whatever. And,
yeah. And I want to be like, thank you, whatever Price Waterhouse gig. That would be amazing. I would name the room. It would have a little nameplate above it with
I would give naming rights to everything in my apartment if somebody wanted to spend it'd be like the Panera Bread toilet.
We should do that. We should just.
I'm currently selling naming rights to everything in my apartment. So
that is a really good
idea. Should work.
This shed is named after a very generous listener, Nick DiFabrizio. This is the Nick DiFabrizio shed because he basically he's a longtime subscriber. He's very generous, but he also came and helped me build it.
Wow.
So that's
amazing.
A little more specific.
Do you have a plaque with his name on it somewhere? You really should.
Oh, I have a bag of his hair.
Should.
You have a what?
A Ziploc bag of his hair.
That's another option. Another way to go with it.
As you do.
I was thinking
that's
like because he's no longer alive, and so you just have the hair from the murder?
He's listening right now.
Is he buried under your shed?
He's aghast that you just both pronounced him dead and murdered, apparently. Yeah.
Is that leather?
So what else has happened? Ophira just had a big name on her podcast. Sam B was just on your show. She and Jason Jones have several kids that would qualify them to be on Parenting as a Joke. She is so funny. How was that? How's the pod? How's everything going with you?
Good. I mean, like, truth be told, I knew Samantha B in Toronto when she was doing sketch. She was doing sketch in the world and I was doing stand-up, but there was some intersections. And actually, we were talking about it a little bit. And I don't know, like, I know you guys started in different scenes, but was sketch big at all when you were doing?
I was in a sketch group when I started.
You were in a sketch group, so it was big.
Yeah.
I feel like
they're definitely
kind of went away.
When I, in the Lower East Side sort of, quote unquote alternative performance scene, the lines were a lot blurrier between sketch and stand up. Improv was not really a thing, at least not in that context. But like the places, like that we used to go, Ophira, like Surf Reality and Collective Unconscious and stuff like that. Like you would see sketch groups mixed in with stand ups and stuff like that. But it's only once I kind of started getting in more into the clubs where it felt more defined. You either did one or the other.
I always found it and still find it beneath me.
Yes.
It's just so strident. It was just so,
perfect.
I'm more of an improv stand up. Who wants to have prepared material and, have to play a role?
Write it and then meet with other people and rehearse.
I will say it is a huge fucking drag.
And then have it only last for a few minutes.
I remember maybe one of the worst moments of my performing life. I was in a sketch trio with a couple of friends of mine, and we started to get a little bit of traction, and we got booked to do this show in LA at a place called HBO Workspace. They had a little venue that, they would, like a little laboratory where they would see people. And it was my first trip to LA. And I really felt like, oh my God, this is where the rocket ride begins. Like this is the start of everything. And the guy who was kind of hip pocketing us at the time, like not even an agent, just sort of would get us gigs. He's like, "Hey, I got you guys a warm up gig to do a sketch at the LA Improv." And at the time, I didn't know just how weird that would be, to do. It's a stand up club. It's not a sketch venue, and it doesn't feel like a sketch venue. And he's like, Tuesday, 11:25 p.m. We were like, all right, LA, like late night in LA. It was so awkward. And as the show was running super long, and I swear to God, we were one of the last things, and I was wearing a toga. And
I love everything you're saying right now. It's awesome.
I was wearing a toga and a sports coat, and one of the other dudes was dressed up as Jesus, like with a loincloth and like covered with sweat and like a crown of thorns. And then and everybody, all the comedians were just looking at us like, what the fuck are these idiots doing? And the minute the MC said sketch comedy group from New York City, half of the 14 people got up and walked off. And we're like literally waiting to go on. And we walk up there in our stupid costumes. And that's the real horrible thing about doing sketch is that you're in it. Like you can't just like, hey, I'm going to change tack and do some crowd work or whatever. Like, no, now I'm in a toga for the next 8 minutes to 7 LA assholes wearing Ed Hardy t-shirts who don't want to be looking at us.
So what would you say to any young folks out there that want to do sketch comedy, guy?
You know what? I'm going to say something that's really annoying. Move to Chicago.
Yeah. I would agree.
Seriously, like
go to LA. I mean, but just don't go to the
That's
Improv.
true. Groundlings or whatever. Right. There's right. Yeah. Don't do it in a comedy club.
They're there for it.
I guess there's some sketch in New York. I never see it.
I mean, it's on the streets all day long. So how about this?
I think all the sketch comedians are now doing front-facing iPhone videos for TikTok. Everybody's a solo sketch performer at this point.
That's right.
That's absolutely right. I'm trying to learn TikTok, and I see where I might fit in. And every time I try to do that, I last about 3 minutes, and then I want to die, and then I leave it alone. And then I wonder how anybody's doing it. It's so time consuming. And it's like, how much of my life am I going to spend with a screen in my face? Do I really have to post on Mastodon now? Like, it's a lot for everybody. But for, I think, people of a certain age, it's like these things keep coming at you. And I mean,
I've long held that our generation, you know, say anybody between the ages of 45 and 55 or 40 and 55 is in sort of a little mini generation, what I refer to as tweeners, where we are not old enough to be above technology. Like, we can't have that idea of like, that's for kids. I don't like pay attention,
dad.
Whatever. Yeah. But we're not young enough to speak it fluently. So we're constantly like the dad trying to rap. Like, there's
and
just
like,
this,
I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it, but I have to do it. I'm going to beat myself up for not doing it, even though I don't want to do it. And it really wouldn't even pay off for me in the same way it would for a younger person anyway. Even if I were to go viral on TikTok, I would not reap the benefits of that the way a 23-year-old would.
Right. And hire a young person. That's the only way you get out of it.
I can't. All these people on TikTok are carving out like some kind of a niche that they're the person that does this. And every time I think of a thing that might be good for me, for example, like, I'm going to be like the gardener who doesn't really know what he's doing guy, and I'm going to make videos with me gardening or something. And then I think about, what if I made like 4 of those videos and nobody watched them? The humiliation would be a lot. I would be too much. I'm like, I can't believe I put so much in to making those stupid gardening videos. And I think that happens to people all day long, all the time. I just don't want to be a casualty of another
100%.
That's the approach. See, that's the approach. And I know that a lot of, like, we are, as late adopters, I will say, to this stuff, like, we come in at it and we're like, how do we use this to support what we're already doing? But I think the way you do it is like, I just love throwing stuff on this platform.
This is the beginning, middle, and end of what I'm doing. Yeah.
That's right. And like, you don't really care how, like, one view is great because you love that. Like, this is the place for you to throw out your stuff.
Yeah, we're trying to use it as a tool. They're actually using the platform for
they're part of it
to do. Yeah.
The best thing for me to do is do it like with my daughters. Like, they've brought me into their TikToks and they know what they're doing, and they're not what I would make, but I'm like, I'll be whatever you want me to be in this. So the other day, my daughter works at a coffee shop. I go, let's do a TikTok where it's me being the difficult order at the coffee shop. And she's like, all right. And I go and I ordered something. I was like, do you have shark's milk? And she's like, we don't have shark's milk. And then I got frustrated with TikTok. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Why? Because it didn't do the numbers that you were hoping? I had to keep
switching the camera and editing the timing. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this. Even if it's a decent idea, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to my friends and tape that and put that out. Is that likable enough? Because I just found out this morning that Steven Crowder turned down $50 million over 4 years. And I realize I'll never be one of those people because I will never be so outrageous and divisive and opinionated. And I know that's what you got to do to get a really huge audience and make a lot of money. Almost no one does it otherwise. There are, I suppose, some exceptions. But it was just like, these.
Well, and also you do have to remind yourself that these things don't make money in the traditional sense that it's like, oh, the talent of Steven Crowder will bring in this number of viewers and that money will actually support it. It's like, no, these things are funded by, Republican super donors and dark money and things like that, because they want to buy into culture. They want to affect culture.
I don't know what you mean. So, I don't know. I've not heard that. Like,
Ben Shapiro, like, these guys aren't like, hey guys, we got an extra 50 subscribers. That means we can all have lunch at the fancy place today. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not how the economy of those businesses works. It's like, yes, they get a lot of subscribers and they do, but a lot of it is kind of manipulation and SEO manipulation and stuff like that. But really the bulk of the money, and that's the same thing with James O'Keefe's and all these people, is that billionaires give them money because they want to.
I didn't know that. Who's done that reporting? I've not.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Koch brothers, like all this stuff. I mean, that's what really gives these guys their fucking money is because if they can convince one old billionaire, you know, the Mercers, like people like that, who kind of want to feel like, hey, we need to, you know, change the minds of tomorrow. And we're going to throw $20 million into some stupid right-wing comedy website or whatever.
That's what I got to do.
Just doesn't exist.
I'm over here doing all this small. That's what I got to do. I'm doing this small time. Like I had a guy build me a shed. Like that's all I can't get a billionaire. All I'm getting is free labor.
Do you not also sort of just like, you know, whatever. So you built this world that is pretty great, but don't you also feel like it's very comforting? Like I sometimes think like, yeah, like I love watching food TikToks. And there's a lot, there's like tips and tricks, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But the people that do best of it are the people that are just the same. It's extreme. They're like eating the most. They're the grossest. It's the most, it's whatever is the mostest. And they're screaming always. No one is ever low key, is screaming.
There's a great video that Bonnie McFarlane actually forwarded to me about a trend called audience capture. Which is basically what happens to a lot of these would-be influencers. And it specifically addresses this one guy who started as like a violinist. Like that was his thing. He would get on and play violin on TikTok, but that didn't really get any traction. So he started being a guy who just ate massive tons of food on either YouTube or TikTok or whatever. And he started out as like a really skinny guy. And then he became this ridiculously obese. I mean, just like unhealthfully obese dude. And his thing is like he would eat like 40 hamburgers, and that was sort of, and he was then captured by his own audience, by the expectations. And so all of a sudden it's like the tail is wagging of the dog, he's just sort of chasing this.
Well, that's true though of a lot of different, comedians that have to keep having negative experiences to talk about on stage, or somebody like Artie Lang, who has perpetuated like being a drug addled degenerate and making $1 million a year, but almost dying and being miserable. I mean, the answer is, I couldn't be happier with the reward of this independent project and creating this community and having all these listeners. It's an amazing thing. It's crazy to think that like my standard is so look, I want 3,000 subscribers and I'm already rich in every way, but financially I'd be pretty well off. I think 3,000, they have like millions, and what they're doing versus what I'm doing. I read about that this morning, and I did a whole monologue and then erased it because it was just so negative. But I just did it with you guys. So there it is.
I hear you, though. I just feel like there's I live in many different worlds or whatever. I come in contact with many different worlds. And sometimes I'm like, I think I'm playing the same game as this person. This person is like, they're just like, they are getting money from all of these different places that I will not even have access to, but I don't want to.
Right.
Yet I'm still jealous of the cash flow because
I don't
of course.
Makes my life easier.
Could you guys, I feel like you're two people, I feel like you're like me, like, would you have a hard time not doing a gig for a company? I mean, sure you would have a hard time doing a gig for a gun manufacturer or oil company or something that you found unethical, but I'm not even saying that. I mean, like, a lot of people go on and they do commercials, they sell things that don't work, that are bad for you even. Like, and they have no compunction. I could never do that. I railed against it at SiriusXM. It did not help me. One of the things that didn't help me, I was not a team player and doing like live reads for bullshit. I could never do that stuff. And it certainly holds me back. Not that I've got all these offers coming in for tobacco products, but like I couldn't do that. I couldn't sell even like a supplement that I knew didn't work. No way. No, thank you. Can't sleep.
Well, clearly you're clearly a guy who doesn't want to increase the volume of his semen, because that is the product that I've been selling, and it
or
works
live
very
forever.
Well.
I mean, if you don't want to live forever, it's not my fault.
Wait, you guys, not only would you do it, you both literally are currently selling products that increase your semen, and in Ophira, you are selling something that allows you to live forever?
NAD plus, baby. I cook it up in my kitchen.
I don't know.
Now, be honest, though. Which would you prefer? Just some dumb thing that made you live forever, or like a whole gallon of batch?
Well, I don't think I had a vasectomy, so I'm not sure that would work for me.
This show's adults only today. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I got an email from OnlyFans, everybody, asking me if I would like to consider that platform to increase my comedic visibility.
Well,
I know people are doing it.
A lot of people are into scars.
It is true. And I have found out through the years, well, not anymore because I'm married, but when I used to sleep around, there was it wasn't great when someone was like kind of grossed up by the scars, or they thought it was weird, or, you know, a little tentative about it. That's never the problem. It is the person who really likes the scars.
Ooh,
that's your problem.
That movie Crash. The David Cronin
yeah,
movie.
right. Yeah.
oh,
Yep,
that's interesting. What did the like?
Pete, it's so hard right now. I'm sorry.
What did the only?
I don't know where my head is at. I apologize.
Where does that? I don't know. Does everybody get those OnlyFans? You know, I interviewed an OnlyFans woman. I told you guys about that.
No.
I
What?
interviewed this woman who, like, a publicist pitched me her, and basically the whole thing was she was a lawyer making good money, but she started doing OnlyFans and was making like six figures a month, and she quit being a lawyer. And I was like, that's interesting. And I think it's like this interesting kind of sex work that's not completely, but like safe. You don't have to actually see somebody. But like increasingly, a lot of people are making like good, even couples. I found out like
I just joined the site AnyFans, which is probably a joke I've said before.
I like it. I need like just some sort of, by the way, self-deprecating humor is going to be over in about a year. So enjoy it now, everybody, because everybody is so, the positive affirmations and you're great and blah, blah, blah is just like that. And building your self-esteem, like all of that. I think
because their lives are so shitty that
this is true.
That they have to put on this sunny, like it's the punk rock thing to do is to be like overly sunny. And that I think that being kind of self-deprecating is thought of as being kind of like a passé old way of being funny.
And just like like a neg, like no fun to be around.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting that you're both in kind of full agreement of seeing this trend. I really don't know what you're talking about. It made me sad.
Well, I mean, scroll through Instagram. I mean, it's like that sort of like the sun is shining and I'm having a great day. Like that's the sort of, none of it's true.
I noticed it in stand-up is that the it's just like self-deprecating humor is just not. I felt like I love it and I love consuming it, and so but I see less and less of it, and even more so, people just are bragging. Like there's a lot of just bragging that you're like, what?
I don't understand that at all.
It's very weird, and it gets paid off. Audience claps.
I remember when I lost a lot of weight like 15 years ago. People would say to me, they're like, why aren't you doing material about how you lost all the weight? And I was like, because nobody wants to hear about accomplishment. Nobody, there's nothing funny about like, I
now they do
something.
It's time to put it out, that material. Just get it
now. Now, the thing is I've gained the weight back. That's the problem. I have to lose the weight again.
I think I didn't
time it right.
I never really felt like I didn't get like a lot of compliments on my material in my act until I lost my hair. I mean, I was always funny and doing fine on stage, but like when I went through the most painful that I'd been, like losing my hair, like 23 was awful. And it was, and still is. I mean, I try not to rest on it much. I'm 47. Look at me. I look perfect. But I mean, that was my best stuff, losing my hair for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is, I do know that when I lost weight, like when I was in my best shape, I had a harder time on stage sometimes because I didn't, the material didn't match my,
right. I get it.
It just didn't, I had sort of lost my kind of doughy everyman quality that I had.
No,
do you know what I mean?
I remember at that point, I was like, he's too good looking to be making these self-deprecating jokes. I don't like it.
I've never had a problem. Maybe because just my handicap is being a woman. So
yes, there you go. Can't lose that.
Also, Ophira has a lot of fun with these positive affirmation things on Instagram and Twitter. I laughed really hard. It's just this, like, I don't know, this cup holder says "Be the good," and Ophira sticks Post-it notes on it, and it's it's her because it's her handwriting. It says "Be the good," and Ophira stuck a Post-it. It says "Nope" and "Fuck you."
So simple.
Yeah, really good.
Just simple.
Made me laugh.
Yeah, I hate that. I was actually thinking a lot about this because there is this. I was thinking about how there's self-deprecating humor is going, and I was thinking about humble brags, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of that, and just playing.
I don't even think that they've even got rid of the humble part of it at this point.
Yeah, it's just brag, totally. Yeah. And then I was just thinking about all the affirmations and just the idea that we need to like squeeze every ounce out of life.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're fed all the time. Like live every day. Like it's your last squeeze every ounce of life. And I was just like, isn't that like, that's coming from a place of trauma. Don't you think actual, like the way to live life is to wish it away, like waste it? Like just be like, oh, sorry, I guess that was a day. Like, don't you think that's
I mean, well, that's
goal?
Yeah, I don't know if we're working retroactively to justify the way we're already spending our lives, but isn't the way I'm already living the right way to live?
But I was like, we need to change the conversation on that, because I feel like living every day like your last, like, or all that stuff is just like, that comes from a place of fear and trauma. You should be wasting time.
I do live every day like it's my last, in the sense that in bed, moaning.
I don't know if I'm with you on that.
I thought that was a fortune cookie for a second.
I don't know. I feel like every moment is a gift.
Not like in bed. No, like literally lying in bed because I'm dying.
All right. Well, I love this conversation and I hate to end it, but I'm getting calls. Plus, I've taken up enough of your time. I have to go pick up a child.
You're getting calls. Okay.
He's not getting calls.
My watch.
Yeah, I didn't hear any phone rings.
Ringing. It's my agents. They want me to do.
See?
And by agents, I mean my daughter needs me to pick her up. You guys
self-deprecating
are the greatest, and I appreciate you very much. Thank you, as always, for joining me, and hope to see you next week, that you will come back, maybe. Hopefully. Yeah. All right.
I'd come back.
All right. Thank you, guys.
TBD.
We'll see. You're the best. Feel better, Christian.
Thanks.
Yeah, we did it. I love my friends. I love talking to them. I love sharing those conversations with you. We love doing that for you, and hopefully that you're entertained, informed, enlightened, get a perspective from those talks and the rest of them as well. That's why I do it. I learn so much from my guests. Sometimes people say, you're doing too much, or you do too many guests. You don't need to put 2 guests on a show, but I obviously really enjoy it. And I want you to be able to have a choice of different conversations to listen to here every week, because I love how I learn and gain perspective, and my brain is stimulated, and I get ideas and focused and inspired, and I'm so grateful that you're here listening to it. So thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to shut up now. Have a great weekend. Look for maybe a surprise show. Maybe not. I tease. I'm not positive I'm going to do it, but I've had some great conversations this week that I'd love to share. I hope you have a great weekend. Subscribe to the podcast. Give it a review over the weekend. Go on iTunes, Spotify, and review the podcast. Give it 5 stars. That's helpful. You've heard people say that a billion times. It's so weird to be saying it. Thank you. Goodbye. Have patience with yourself and compassion for others, and I will talk to you on Monday. At least that's what I'm going to try to do. Bye-bye.
I think I can let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear and all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, get down off of your fence. And even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up. Stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up. Stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw the land for all. They had to stand up. They had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. Alright, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it, but now no need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well, and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up, stand up, got to stand up. Ooh, come on, just stand up. Everybody got to stand up in the darkest hour. Stand up, people got the power. Stand up, come on, come on, come on.